Dan RadioStyle, hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day. Remembering technique. This actually it's another name for a technique that I think has been called out a few times. I know Agnes and I have even talked about it in the past, but I thought I'd cover it again, kind of a different angle, and then under obviously this new name that maybe some of you are more familiar with. Maybe some of you will recognize the other names that I'm about to share. But the remembering technique is a very powerful way to actually get our minds to shift into the I already have it mentality. It already exists. So some of the other names that this one has that you might know it by, assuming the wish fulfilled. I think that's a very Neville Goddard concept. I remember when is the one that I kind of remember Agnes and I talking about. I remember when Agnes and I talked about I remember when. And another is kind of just visualizing in general, I think also gets into play here in a large extent. But there's some caveats to this concept, and it's like I said, it's very powerful, and it's pretty freaking awesome, especially when you do it properly. So again, just to kind of go over like visualization 101, you're always trying to add as much clarity as you possibly can in your visualization. So what I mean by that is it's not just one, very important. It's got to come from your perspective. So if you're seeing it more like it's happening out there, like you're an observer and you're far away, and this is the person that you're like a specific person, for example, and you're wanting to imagine being together, and you keep maybe seeing them at a distance, or maybe you see yourself in them at a distance, that's definitely not benefiting you. You want to see it from your own eyes. So if being with them is what you want, if you're a man, for example, you're going to imagine what it looks like, maybe looking down on the top of their head while you hug them. Maybe the fact you can kind of glance down their back a little bit. Maybe you've got their hair in your face and you can smell that. Maybe you can kind of look over to the side and sort of see the side of them, their eyes and their nose, and right? But it's coming from your vantage point. It's like, what do they look like from me? If you're a woman, and hopefully the guy's bigger than you, he might not be, but you're hugging him, your face is mashed up against his chest, you're looking up and you see his chin, right? Like it's your vantage point from where you're at. Like when you do it from that standpoint where it's from your eyes, that is one of the biggest keys of visualization. A lot of people don't realize that, don't do that. In fact, they see it out at a distance. They see us dancing. I see us in the room and we're dancing around and there's people standing around us. Well, you're outside of it when you're doing that. It's not you. You're not a part of it. You're not manifesting being a part of it. You're sort of having an out-of-body experience. That's cool, but that's not really benefiting your manifestation. So from your eyes, from your vantage point, very powerful. It's a must, in fact, right? On top of that, you want to make it as 3D as possible. And what I mean by 3D or third dimension, I really mean it from the standpoint of I want you to be able to move in your mind, in your imagination. I want you to be able to turn, say, for example, your specific person. I use this example a lot, but it's a good one, is you're dancing. You're having your dance at your wedding, right? And so you're imagining maybe seeing yourself in your gown. Maybe you can kind of see the gown the way, the train or whatever the hell they call that part that goes out behind you, right? And you got all that extra skirt and stuff, right? Corset. Maybe you got your little girls just holding it wherever you go, right? But you see all that. You see the beautiful gown. You see maybe the bit of the thing that goes down over your face, the veil, I guess, right? But on top of that, you're seeing him right in front of you and dancing. That's great. That's wonderful. You're on track. You're great. Now, the 3D part. As you're turning, because everyone does dances, you kind of turn a little bit usually, right? You kind of, especially if you're in a wedding and you've maybe got a lot of people that are around the dance floor and you kind of want to see everybody. So kind of imagine yourself turning and then glancing through your own eyes out at the different people that are standing around and watching you and your wonderful mate dance your first dance. The power in that is also huge. One, because you're putting yourself in this situation, you're creating this reality, and then you're partaking in it. So visualization, real good visualization anyway, is a lot more like what we used to do as kids when we did make-believe, when we pretended that something was real and then acted as if that were the case. It's a part of ourselves that many of us have lost as we've gotten older. We've forgotten how to pretend. We've forgotten how to play. We've forgotten how to have fun. A kid, you could hand him a thing of marbles and go put them out in the other room, and aside from maybe a lot of children just start swallowing them, but Others will start to play with them. They'll start flicking them at each other. They'll start throwing them at things. They'll start doing something with the marbles that makes it somewhat entertaining for themselves. Again, or they'll eat them. Whatever. So trying to give it as much reality as you can, trying to move yourself in 3D space through your imaginal scene. When you're, quote, living in the end, try to see it better than that. Maybe, for an example, you've got a specific coffee shop that maybe you drive by every day. Coffee's a big thing for me, so that's why it pops up. Maybe it's a pub, right? Whatever. Coffee shop, pub, whatever. A specific one, maybe they've got uniquely good food, or croissants, or croissant, to say it properly, right? Maybe they've got any number of these things. And every time you go by it, you're like, I am living in the end. I am definitely going there with my specific person. I can totally imagine it. They're going to have the croissant, the chocolate-filled croissant, and they will then have a cappuccino because I know they like that too, right? And we're going to sit there and we'll sit outside and we'll watch all the birds fly by and the beach and the kids or whatever the thing is, right? That is an excellent living in the end. But on top of talking about that in your mind, right? How me and my specific person, me and Johnny, or me and Matt, or me and Michael, or me and Mark are all going to go into this place. You got a lot of boyfriends, lady. You just need to calm down. We're all going to go into this place, and we're going to order this food. But one of the cool things that you can add to it is, what does it seem like when you're walking in? Are you holding hands with them? What does the imagery look like inside of the room? When you look over to the right at him, do you notice that you see him and then maybe some of the background, the shelves, the coffee, the tables, whatever? And then when you look back, maybe you can see the back wall. Maybe it's got some knickknacks or some cool stuff, or if it's a bar, maybe there's a really neat neon sign or something, right? But try to put yourself in the perspective. Where's the bar relative to you, or where's the coffee bar relative to you? Where are you guys going to sit? You going to sit outside? Can you look inside? Try to imagine all the little pieces that go into that, and what you guys are going to be doing in this coffee shop / pub out on the beach when you're, quote, living in the end, when you are with your SP and you're finally there. What are you doing? What are you talking about? What's the communication? What are you watching? Are you just sitting there enjoying yourself, drinking your coffee, just laughing? Then imagine that too. But giving it that clarity is super important. So the remembering technique, and I am totally getting to the small distinction between it and assuming the wish fulfilled, living in the end, I remember when, all these things, right? These are all kind of concepts doing very, very similar mechanics, if you will. So yeah, view it from your eyes, make it 3D. Now here's the thing that's really what you're trying to do. And this is where I think this becomes a very powerful technique, and one that actually kind of gets our minds moving in the right direction, gets our minds accepting a different take on reality. So just to put the reality out there, just to state it, right? We're not together yet with my specific person, but that's what we're going to manifest. I'm not saying this right now because I've got someone I'm very happy with that I'm involved with. But hypothetically, the specific person's one a lot of people want to do. Maybe it's your job, maybe it's a car, maybe it's a house, whatever. Obviously, right at this second, you don't have it. So that's reality. Okay, that's fine. That's what we're changing, right? We're changing reality. So that's perfectly okay in my mind that currently your reality is void of this thing that you're wishing to manifest. Fantastic. Now, what a lot of us think of is, well, in the future, I'm going to have this thing. So I'm going to imagine it. I'm going to think about it. And that's what I'm creating. I'm creating this future scenario where suddenly I am united with the thing I desire. Now, in and of itself, I don't know, that's okay. It's not good because there is a separation that's occurred. You're creating kind of a separate timeline for you and this thing. And by looking at it in the future, you're seeing it constantly separated and constantly out before you, further than you can reach. It's out there. You keep saying it's in the future. Well, the future is not now. The future can never be now. Never. Right now can never be the future. Never. Can't be. Now, right now was the future an hour ago, but right now is not the future, and the future cannot be right now. Never. So, we have a little bit of a conundrum here, don't we? The way to kind of work through that, and that's why I've frequently called it, and some people don't like the wording, but I don't really care. I mean, to be honest, it just works for me. That's why I do it. Again, techniques are what works for you. Then do that. It doesn't matter if 50 other people say, that doesn't work. Be like, it works for me, so I don't really care what 50 other people think. Doesn't matter. But what works for me is it's in process. It's happening. This is where I'm going. This is what I'm becoming. This is who I am, and this is the life that is evolving before me. And what that does in my mind is it kind of creates that more present situation about what it is I'm manifesting. It doesn't necessarily put it off into the future, though it kind of does. And it's certainly not in the past. All right, that's good or bad. This technique, by the way, does more of that. But from my standpoint, again, it deals with that aspect that so many of us have a hard time with, which is the, why don't I have it right now? And so many of us are like, yeah, I know law of attraction works. Yeah, I know this is attracting it to me, but I don't have it now. When am I going to have it? And that's what a lot of us, like, we do all these techniques, we did it great, we did a technique for an hour, and then 4 seconds later, we're like, yeah, but I don't have them, and I miss them, and I want to be with them. Well, you kind of almost just undid all the stuff you just did a little bit ago, right? Because now you're very fixated on the fact that you're focus-based universe, you're focused on the fact that you don't have them. So, remembering technique. It brings the future to the past. What? Yes. One of the things that's really awesome about bringing the future to the past and treating it like a memory rather than something that you haven't done yet is that the mind has a hard time distinguishing between imagining, playing make-believe, between the past and having a memory. And like I said, imagining and memories in the mind are happening in the very same place in the brain. And our conscious minds, especially when you do it a few times, start to have a hard time distinguishing between what's a memory and what's imaginal. And in doing that, it really does assist that mental chatter, that monkey brain part of ourselves that won't shut up. It's that part of us that gets us in more trouble, frankly, than any other part of our manifesting. It's that naysayer part of our voice. It's why we say don't talk to others, because it will generally enhance that. Yes, talking to others as a rule is a good thing. Really, when you talk about something like you have it already, that's fantastic. But if you talk to somebody that's then going to put doubts into your mind, that was a bad person to talk to. It's not the fact that you talked about it, it's who you talked to about it. That is really where the key is. Now, the reason why many of the law of attraction teachers and gurus and whatever the hells are so adamant about saying don't talk about it is because most people aren't very discerning when it comes to who they're talking to. One of the strong things about bringing the future to the past is it does help with that aspect of our brain not knowing, is this real? Is this a memory? Is it live? Is it Memorex? What is going on here? And so that bringing the future to the past concept is where the real power comes into this. Now, the remembering technique is not so much about like, oh, I remember at our wedding. Well, it is basically. I remember at our wedding, and I remember how we were dancing around, and I remember all of this. You're not trying to get them back. You're not trying to get married to them. You're not trying to get $1 million. You're not trying to get a house, like so many of us are trying to do. What you really are doing is remembering when you got it. You're remembering when you got them back. You're remembering when the wedding day was. You're remembering the fun you had on your wedding day. You're remembering when you got $1 million. You're remembering when you first walked into that house, your new house, for the very first time, when the realtor put the keys in your hand, that of course you're visualizing from your own 3D perspective, they put the keys in your hand and you opened the door and walked into your house. I remember when I did that. It's that component that gets it out of the future and it gets us into our mind. It gets us visualizing again, powerful. All these things are powerful. And again, it puts it in the past, which is where our mind, the chatter, the monkey brain part of ourself begins to start to go, yeah, well, no, I've seen that so many times. I think it's real. Like there's something to that. And in fact, it's funny because the way delusion can work too with some people, and I know a lot of people in law of attraction are like, am I being delusional or does this stuff work? Delusion's kind of an interesting thing. You can believe something so strongly that it becomes real for you. It may not be real for anyone else. Someone brought up a comment recently where they were talking about there are certain psychological situations where people kind of get crazy and assume that they're President Trump, for example. So in their mind, they're President Trump and they're running the nation and everybody hates them. Well, many people would say Well, see, that goes to show you if you believe it, then it's, here's a case where this person believes it, but it's not true. They're not President Trump. I disagree. In their mind, they are. They are President Trump. To them, it's real. This is not about trying to prove things to other people. This is not about trying to manifest stuff so other people believe you. This is not about trying to make things happen so you can prove to other people. No. This is about creating a reality that we can be a part of ourselves, and maybe with someone else. That'd be nice, right? So you're not alone. But it's about creating a reality that you can experience, that you can be a part of, that you can believe, that you can live. It's not about whether that reality seems real to other people. There's plenty of people I know that walk around and are happy, and they've got all sorts of horrible things going on in their lives. And any number of other people I know that had that same life would constantly complain about how horrible life was. Yet, this other person can walk around oblivious and happy, almost ignorant of the fact that they are in a bad place, or they're in prison, or some crazy thing. Yet for some reason, they still manage to find a smile every once in a while. It's one of those things where what is real inside of you is real. It doesn't have to be real to anybody else to be real. If it's real in you, it's real. So if you're together with this person that you're, quote, not together with, but you're together in your mind, we're together. Like someone just gave another example today where I was hanging out with my specific person. We just spent the last 4 days together. It was awesome. We had a really good time. He was so romantic. He was so in love. I mean, I know we're not together again yet, but, it went really well. And in my mind, and my response back to her was like, well, you just were together. So wait a minute. What is it? Are you together or are you not together? Because it sounds like you're together. It sounds like they enjoy spending time with you. Maybe there hasn't been an official, hey, will you be my girlfriend? Or an official, hey, will you marry me? But if you're manifesting being together and you're spending time together, then you have manifested what you're asking for. Remembering when. Powerful technique really gets us to hone in our imagining skills, our visualization skills, and at the same time allows us a way to kind of put it in the past more so than the future, which really works better for the whole manifesting concept, because now you're not so much noticing that it's not here, but instead you go back to the remembering of when we first were together. And that gets you thinking about, man, it was just so great when we were together like that, when we finally got back together. And that way you can speak about it as a past tense, and you can speak about it like it's already happened, because it has. Because it has. In your mind, it has. It's real in your mind. Doesn't have to be real to anybody else. Delusion actually benefits you in this case. That's what a lot of these games are about, is getting yourself to believe something so firmly that you continue moving down the course you're going. And in doing those actions, you will manifest the thing that you desire. It's not just about thinking positive. It's not just about imagining things. It's not just about making room in your closet. No. There's more. There's some action that needs to happen. There's direction that needs to happen. There's evolution of our soul that needs to happen. There's maybe a job that's waiting for you that needs to happen first. There's childcare scenarios that you need to think about. There's professional aspects that we need to think about. There's so much that goes into relationships and making a family and creating a unit that I think a lot of us sometimes very much simplify. We're like, well, I just want to be with them. I just want them to love me. I just want to talk to them, right? All right, but again, there's sometimes a little more to it than some of the simplicity that we're simply asking for. So again, remembering when, creating that level of reality inside your brain, creating that delusion, that illusion of delusion, whichever, and really helping yourself get from A to M. I'm not sure. M, marriage. There you go. That works for me. Trying to get from here to there, but you don't want to make it seem like you're going to there. More like there's already happened, and I'm experiencing all the experiences that led me up to that moment when I remember us getting together. And it was so wonderful, all the things that led up to it. And you can remember when on that too. Remember when he first called you, and then he said, hey, let's go out. And he talked about going to your favorite little restaurant, and you're like, you guys went out to eat, and it was just amazing food, and the chef was wonderful. And he came out and asked you guys if everything was great, and then he juggled a cat and a dog and a knife and a chainsaw, and you were just like, oh my God, what an amazing day. You can imagine the whole thing. and really get into building that image from the past forward. Time really is irrelevant in a lot of cases. Again, how many times have you experienced a minute that felt like an hour? Or how many times you've been an hour and been like, oh my God, it just felt like it was 2 seconds ago that we started doing this. Time's kind of an irrelevant thing. It really comes around to experiencing moments. And however many moments it is away from now is however many moments it's away. But we experience the moments. We walk through the moments. We are the moments. We become the moments. The moments are what are leading us along. So remember the moments that led to when you finally had your manifestation come true. Remember those moments. Remember the manifestation. Remember how great it is and was when you finally accomplished what it is that you're after. Hopefully this makes a difference. Dan, Radio Style.